Am I crazy for liking the Skins +5? Because, the Eagles have lost 3 or 4. They didn't look good against the Giants, had to win that in overtime. They lost to the Dolphins, lost a huge lead there on the road. They scored 9 points against the Seahawks. They've got so many injuries at receiver. I just think the Skins +5 is a sneaky play, even though the Skins suck. But I just don't see the Eagles blowing them out. I don't know. That could be crazy.
I mean, I don't think it's a horrible idea because you feel like Callahan's probably going to want to run it, and that's going to keep it close. But I'm just so scarred by games of Eagles past. I'm so scarred by the fact that every time these two teams have played for the last 5, the Eagles have won, and I don't think any of them have been close. They have housed them time and time again. Obviously, week 1 was close for a second because the Redskins jumped out, but even by the end of that game, it wasn't in doubt. And so I don't know what to make of this Eagles team. I mean, after week 1, I thought this was a lock playoff team. And, when they had Deshaun Jackson this year, they were good. The problem is they've barely had Deshaun Jackson, and he's such a game changer, as we well know, having seen him play here, that everything is different. And with Alshon out as well and all their other receivers down, they've got – the good news for them is they've got these tight ends in Goddard and Ertz that can play wide receiver. Callahan said, watching Ertz is like watching an ex-receiver run down the field. You're bigger, physical, on the line type of guy. I talked to one Redskins defender and told him that quote. He's like, let's not get carried away. He's awesome, but he's not that.
Uh-huh.
So, it is a disadvantage. They have to figure out, if all of a sudden, one, I don't even know if Quentin Dunbar is going to play with this hamstring injury, but like if Dunbar can go cover Ertz, which is something they used to do early in Dunny's career, they'd stick him on tight ends when he was a backup corner because he's so big, height-wise, that he's actually a good matchup there, especially on third downs. But if they can do that against a guy like Ertz and get away with it in the run game, like that's a huge advantage for the Skins defense that could potentially help keep this game close. And then it's going to be a matter of when does it click for Haskins? When do these small steps of progression that we are seeing turn into of production? And until that happens, they're not going to win a lot of games. We saw obviously a pretty good game a couple weeks ago against Carolina, but that was aided by 250 yards on the ground. And, without Darius Geis, I don't think they have another one of those in them.
Joined by Craig Hoffman, covers the Redskins for 106.7 The Fan. So the Josh Norman era here in D.C. is winding down, and it's ending in weird fashion. He's played 4 defensive snaps, 2 on special teams, the last 3 games combined, but he's still getting $500,000 per game in per-game bonus money for those games. What is going on with this exit of Josh Norman from the Redskins? Why is he just not being deactivated?
If you want to use this term, it's like muzzle money. It's like,
right.
Hey, we won't mess with your money. Just don't make this awkward.
Right.
Don't go yapping to the press. Don't.
So it's hush money. They're paying him hush money is what they're doing.
Kind of, yeah. That's a better way to put it. I didn't like the phrase muzzle money.
Either one works.
The alliteration worked. Yeah. It felt a little weird.
Right.
But, yeah, it's essentially hush money. It's like, look, we need to look at young guys. You weren't playing that well. You say you're hurt, so you don't want to put any bad tape out there. So, we kind of agree that we don't want you to play. But at the same time, we don't want to mess with your money. Because then you're going to go to the press and say things that we're going to have to answer questions about, and it's going to be bad. So I think that Josh is also, that was kind of the agreement they came to. And Josh is probably playing this smart too. Because, if a new GM were to come in and be like, yeah, the old staff was using him terribly. We're going to have to pay him a lot of money if we cut him anyway. Let's at least get him through training camp or let's get him through the offseason. There's a roundabout way in which the Josh Norman era in DC actually isn't over. If whoever comes in says, yeah, no, he's an asset. I don't know what the hell they were doing with him in that scheme, but we think he can play and we think he's better than Fabian Moreau, which I think is getting harder to say because Moreau's actually been significantly better since moving to the outside, but it's not like he's been great. They could take a look at him. I think they probably move on. I think it's probably the best thing to move on. I think it's the likely thing that happens. But Josh is being smart about this in terms of not blowing up in the press, and I think the fact that they're not screwing with him like they are, say, Colt McCoy, who's got bonus money each and every game and never anticipated being inactive because when he signed a new contract last fall in training camp, he was supposed to be just Alex Smith's backup, and how things have changed. That's been a lot easier for him to just sit and take this.
I think you're right about the Eagles. This is going to be a heavy Wentz to Ertz, Wentz to Goddard. Last week they were using Greg Ward Jr. at receiver, J.J. Whiteside. They did nothing. Probably going to be heavy Miles Sanders. They actually started giving the ball to Boston Scott, the little scat back, last week. He had 10 carries for 60 yards.
And I think
scored.
Jordan Howard's finally back for them, right?
Is Jordan Howard going to play this week?
I think he's listed as questionable.
Yeah.
I know this, sadly, not because it's my job to, but because I've got fantasy playoffs this weekend, and he has got a projected number next to his name that's not 0. So I think, which is the first time in a long time for a Jordan Howard owner over here.
Yeah, he's been out for a while. Yep.
Yeah, so I think him getting back is a big deal for them. But Sanders is a really good player, and they like him a lot. I think Sanders is probably going to be featured. But, yeah, Howard, I think, is finally going to be back this weekend as well.
So how do you think Haskins plays in this matchup? Same.
I mean,
he'll look awful for 70% of the game, and then he'll show a couple flashes in the other 30.
Here's the things I think about when I think about Dwayne's ability to succeed. They've got a lot of evidence now that 2 minutes good for him. Can they smartly use tempo? And smartly using tempo doesn't mean necessarily getting up to the line of scrimmage as fast as you can and calling plays. You can do kind of the college thing where you rush up to the line, get in formation, and then look to the sideline and get a play. And figure out what the system of calling that is. As long as you get to the line before 15 on the clock, on the play clock, you can still put a play in his headset. And even if that play is wristband 4, and he looks at the wristband real quick, holds up a signal that everybody knows, there's ways you can use tempo and essentially use a slowed down version of your 2-minute offense that at the very least you're dictating to the defense. You can't sub, and you're going to play basic coverages because you can't communicate complex stuff without a huddle. Even a defense needs to huddle every now and again if they want to do something exotic. And so by using tempo to simplify the game, that is why he has been good in 2 minutes. Because there's only so much that a defense can do, and it makes the game easier. And Sean did this his first year with Goff. They would go, what they call their turbo package, and they would get to the line and they'd go. And I think that if Callahan is willing to risk the clock stuff and the idea of just draining the clock with running the football, all right, let's huddle up, let's go run it again, then I think that you could see Dwayne get into a better rhythm. The other thing I think about is how often you run on first down. And we've talked about this before. You get simpler stuff on first and second down because teams can't move guys everywhere because then they get in bad run fits. And so on first and second down, when there are optimal passing downs, is Bill going to be over there obsessing about run efficiency? Which he was really happy with their run efficiency, which is a run over 4 yards. They were like 70% on first down last week, which is great. Yeah. But it's how often are you doing that when you could have gotten 8 and your quarterback into a little bit of a rhythm with a simple slant? And so those kinds of things, I always wonder with the game plan how it's going to be and how that sets Dwayne up for possible success.